Rodriguez.
Sure, perfect. So again, my name's Roger Enriquez. I'm an associate professor. My appointment is in the College for Health, Community, and Policy. I'm also the director of the Policy Study Center and executive director of the Westside Community Partnerships. I'm coming from you today from 1310 Guadalupe, just like all the ambassadors that you see here on the Zoom call. We would love for you guys to come by and we could do this presentation in person, but for now, we're just gonna have to do it this way. We are recording it so that way, if you wanna share this with someone down the road, we'd be more than happy to do that. Let me just start off by saying that give credit where credit is due. From my perspective, I wanna thank Albert, Jaime, Mario, Hugh, because they've really been the impetus behind sort of coming up with this idea of the Digital Ambassadors Program. We started this idea, Chris and I, when we did the very comprehensive study for the city of San Antonio. The city of San Antonio commissioned us to do a study to see where the digital divide was. And what we discovered, of course, is it should be no surprise to folks that what ends up happening is that the communities with low socioeconomic status are those communities that are the ones that are most disconnected. And so what we found was that there's really three pieces, and the students will get into it here in just a minute, but there's three pieces to the digital divide: connectivity, devices, and literacy. And so our focus, because we know that there's many initiatives in other institutions around connectivity and devices, is to focus in on the literacy. We're very fortunate to have one of the nation's and really international reputation, Dr. Chris Reddick, who is leading this project with the Digital Ambassadors. Chris has worked in a lot of e-government initiatives and how people use technology and how they don't use technology as well. And so without further ado, Dr. Reddick, the floor is all yours.
Okay, thank you, Roger, and for the kind introduction, and thank you for the Najim Center and Hugh Stevens and Mr. Najim himself. So we have this dream team of six folks, 6 students at UTSA that did this project and embedded themselves in the community center, and they dealt with a lot of issues that folks, especially in lower income categories, how they dealt with the digital divide, and they were able to get these individuals from, I would say, essentially being confused and kind of overwhelmed with technology, right? That's what if you're not able to access technology through abilities and so forth, able to move them to something positive to impact their lives. And this presentation is really going to show you the impact of these students had on the lives of these individuals in the community. So without further ado, I would like the presenters to start the presentation, and feel free to ask any questions as we go along or at the end or whatever you're comfortable with. So enjoy the presentation.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Reddick. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you all are enjoying your Thursday. My name is Joy Shepherd Udo, and today we will be discussing the impact of the Digital Ambassador Program on our city here, San Antonio. But first, let me help you understand a little bit about what a digital ambassador is. Awesome. So a digital ambassador is an individual who provides help with internet searches, troubleshooting with minor software and hardware issues, and improve overall awareness of privacy issues and security. At our office here on 1310 Guadalupe Street in San Antonio, we provide help desk support for members of the community who are suffering from inefficient internet access and connectivity. And our overall goal as digital ambassadors is to help bridge that digital literacy gap through access to the internet. So as part of our discussion today, we'll speak on the 4 prominent barriers that inhibit a computer user's ability to achieve digital literacy. So as my boss, Dr. Enriquez mentioned a couple minutes ago, the three pillars, so to speak, that we sort of tackle as digital ambassadors is the connectivity, devices, and literacy. But we have another one here, as you can see, psychosocial barriers that we'll also get into. So the very first point that we'll discuss today, the connectivity barriers here, which are related to the ability or inability to access technology. And this is the most prevalent way the digital divide is measured. Okay, and this relates to users who have faulty Wi-Fi connections and hardware, software. And our next point that we'll get into today is about the literacy barriers, which is in regard to a user's lack of skill in manipulating computer softwares and applications, and the technological skills that must evolve as a result of information accessibility that increases online. That's also what we'll talk about today. And a literacy barrier is really a skill-based barrier, meaning it is related to a user's understanding of technological functions with software such as like Microsoft, Google, to more of your like hardcore softwares like RStudio or MATLAB or what have you. The third point that we'll get into today is about content barriers, which deals with the user's information availability. There's some digital content online, as we've all researched here, that is actually not available to people because of language barriers or because of a user's reading level. Certain information online may not be available. And content is about what information a user is able to use due to its availability online. And our fourth point today that we'll talk about is the psychosocial barriers, which is in regards to a user's negative feelings or discomfort and anxiety when using technology, which is, and this point is actually the final manifestation of the digital divide. And this particular barrier can often be overlooked, but they're just as important as the others. Okay, so at this time, we're about to go in depth and explain more about what these barriers are and how they affected some of the clients that we and my fellow ambassadors and myself have been able to work with. But before we do that, let's go ahead and go to this next slide. And we're gonna introduce ourselves. So once again, my name is Joy Shepherd Udo. I am a biology major and a psychology minor at UTSA, and I aspire to be a psychiatrist. I'll hand it over to Caitlin.
Hi, my name is Caitlin DeLeon. I'm also a biology major here at UTSA. I'm a senior and I'm an aspiring nurse.
Hi, my name is Mariana A. I am a UTSA graduate. I have my bachelor's in medical humanities and I'm an aspiring physician assistant.
Hi, I'm Mariana Bravo. I am a community health major at UTSA in hopes of attending the UT Health Science Center to receive a Master's of Science in Respiratory Care.
Hi, I'm an education major, aspiring to be a teacher.
Hello, my name is David. I'm in my last year of studying mathematics and I hope to teach high school as well here in SAISD district, hopefully Brackenridge.
Awesome. And now at this time, Caitlin is going to walk us through what the digital divide is and give you an in-depth explanation about connectivity barriers. I'll pass it on to Caitlin.
What is the digital divide? The digital divide is the disparity in access to digital information. It's also considered the gap between those with access to the internet and those without access to it. There are 5 elements of the digital divide. The first 2 elements are access to the internet and technology issues, and these fall under the connectivity barriers mentioned in the table of contents. The next element of the digital divide is, internet abilities, which is a content barrier, and internet skills, which is a literacy barrier. Lastly is digital outcomes, and is defined as individuals not being able to accomplish goals on the internet due to several of the elements at once and can fall under any of the barriers listed above or in the table of contents. So this map presents San Antonio and information about the digital divide by zip code. The darker shaded areas of the zip code are represent areas heavily impacted by the digital divide. The red star on the map marks zip code 78207, which is where the UTSA Community Center resides. We can see that the areas around the star are heavily impacted by the digital divide. And the west side and the south side have darker shaded areas, meaning that these are heavily impacted. The first element of the digital divide that we're going to unpack is connectivity barriers, what it is and who's affected by it. The connectivity barrier is related to the technology required to access and use digital information such as computer software and connections. There are several different types of connectivity barriers, and many people in our community find themselves being affected by it, at least one or more of these technological barriers. So 3 types of connectivity barriers that we're going to go over today are physical computer access, internet access, and connection type. So physical computer access can be individuals that don't have access to suitable technology. This may mean that they have outdated technology, their technology that they do have may not work effectively, or they may not have ownership of any technology at all. Internet access. This can include individuals that don't have access to the internet, may have reliable or unreliable or faulty internet access, or just can't afford access to the internet in general. And connection type is the last one. This can include non-compatible connection types, including broadband, digital subscriber line, or DSL, and dial-up. These can possibly not be compatible with any sort of technology that they might have. Here we can see the percentages of internet users and non-internet users by race and ethnicity in San Antonio. The percentage of internet users may come as a shock because although San Antonio is a majority Hispanic city, we can see that only 54% of internet users in San Antonio are Hispanic, while 76% of non-internet users in San Antonio are Hispanic, which is a much larger percent than any other race or ethnicity listed in the study. So one example of a gentleman that we had come into the community center was Mr. Jorge Mora Gamez. So he came in and he had a laptop just newly purchased, but had no idea on how to use it. So he came in and didn't even know how to work Wi-Fi because he didn't have access to it at home. So we worked on using a trackpad, his keyboard, and then we discovered that his laptop was touchscreen, which he didn't even know when he bought it. Next, we connected to the Wi-Fi because, like I said, he didn't have access to that at his home and was only able to use it in places that had free Wi-Fi, which we offer here at the community center. So after connecting to the UTSA guest Wi-Fi, we discovered different browsers such as Safari and Firefox, Google Chrome, Internet Explorer. So we went ahead and found what was most compatible with his computer, which was Google Chrome. And while that was downloading, we used my laptop to watch internet safety modules provided by LinkedIn and Microsoft. So from there, we were learning about, just basic internet safety and how not to give away your information on the internet. And after his browser was finished downloading, we used his computer for hands-on experience on how to search on Google, how to search things on YouTube and what kind of videos you may find there, how to log into your email, the differences between .gov, .net, .com, .edu. So he was able to learn a lot of things that he wouldn't have learned otherwise because of that connectivity barrier that he experiences at home. And next, Jasmine Arroyo and Mariana Bravo are going to speak to you about literacy barriers.
So literacy barriers, it would be the barriers that are keeping these people from being, completely digital and fluidly digital. Literacy barriers, a lack of comprehension to access a computer or search for information. Examples are they actually don't have any type of digital device on them. Language barriers, most digital devices now can translate, but they don't even know how to access translation option, to get their device into the appropriate language for them. And then to retain this information that they receive, most people are just told what to do and they can't retain how to access their computers. And then the people affected by this are probably the middle-aged people, the elderly, the way Caitlin was saying, most of this area of the Westside community, low income, many people who do not speak any type of English. In today's economy and public and private institutions, we have adopted the use of a digital information system to reduce costs without fully understanding the consequences of this trend. The shifts is allowing this bridge of keeping people behind, because they don't know how to access online, for example, applications, receiving healthcare exam, communications with their teachers, applying for social services. Individuals without an email or an account will lose this opportunity because they don't have access to it. And
Okay, and with such a rapidly growing digital era, it is very important to note that the Latino population in the US is growing as well. We make up about 50.4 million in the US population, according to the Pew Hispanic Center. And most importantly, Hispanics are the majority race here in San Antonio, making up the 64.2% of the San Antonio population. And if large sectors of the growing Latino community aren't able to participate in the digital world, their future opportunities and achievements will be compromised. And this should be very alarming considering that the community represents a large segment of the US population. And according to the Digital Divide in the Latino Community by Omelia Santos, research has found that people with access to information have more opportunities to improve their lives economically, physically, politically, than those who do not.
I present to you guys Ms. Ochoa. I present to you guys Ms. Ochoa. She was actually our first customer to come in. So she only speaks Spanish. She knows very few words in English. She lost her job because of COVID. So she went to her mortgage to ask for assistance because she could not pay her mortgage. But because of this communication, these barriers that she has, a communication issue and translation issue, she somehow accumulated over $100 in late fees. So what I did was I helped her create an online account so she can access her mortgage, and then gave her step-by-step process to access her account. And we also had to petition that these late fees could be removed because of this miscommunication and translation issue. So I translated the petition for her, and we sent it in, we emailed it in.
After Jasmine assisted Ms. Ochoa with the mortgage issue, she kept coming back for multiple issues. One of the things was that she couldn't access her mortgage account later on. She had to reset her password. She didn't know how to do that. So I went ahead and helped her reset her password. We logged in. I helped her make her payment online, which is how it was mentioned earlier, everything's online now. And then I helped her enroll in AutoPay because she was still receiving late fees. So I helped her save money on that issue. And then on another occasion, she did bring her laptop in, and I taught her how to use, how to turn it on, how to turn it off, how to do a simple Google search. I explained to her how the tabs worked, the back button, basic skills like that. She also had a lot of search inquiries, such as finding cemetery land plots, how to file for a lost passport, how to reapply for a new passport, how to check the expiring date on her cosmetology license, and how to look for websites that offered ongoing education for cosmetology. Let's see. And then another thing I helped her with was how to send emails through her phone, because that was a whole different thing she didn't know how to do. And I tried teaching her how to do that. However, I noticed that it was just too many steps for her. I was like, okay, let me go ahead and look for a step-by-step flyer online. And I went ahead and looked for one. I couldn't find anything that was in Spanish because everything we helped Ms. Ochoa with had to be in Spanish. She's only spoke Spanish. So I went ahead and made my own flyer, which is the one shown here. And I realized that this could not only be used for her, but for any other people that have the same issue. And we went ahead and printed it out, had it here at the center, and hopefully we're able to assist many other people with that, as well as making more flyers, both in English and Spanish, to help our community out. And then here we have a thank you video from Ms. Ochoa, and we'll go ahead and play that for you.
Make sure she can deliver the direction here, okay?
Okay.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Minelda Ochoa. Estoy aquí para agradecer a los jóvenes de UTSA por su trabajo de labor social, que me han ayudado con mucho interés, con muy buena voluntad. Me han ayudado a resolver mis problemas con el mortgage, a transferir
Okay, awesome. So hi everyone, my name is Mariana Arredondo again. I will be talking about content barriers today. And so content barriers basically refers to the characteristics of the information available that prohibits access or to the absence of the needed information, as you can see on the next slide. In other words, people of a certain background, be it low income, minority, bilingual, they seek information to help themselves, but they end up struggling in understanding the information or navigating it. So when we talk about who's affected, when it comes to content barriers, we're looking at the non-mainstream population. In other words, that group of people that are not tech savvy, they don't usually navigate the internet to look for information. They may not even have social media platforms for themselves, and they just tend to avoid technological means of seeking information completely. So they can range from any age group, really, any ethnicity, gender, etc. And so we're also seeing low-income populations affected from content barriers. And then again, we're seeing those clients who speak languages other than English affected as well. And much like literacy barriers, as we just heard, content barriers, they prove challenging for this population when it comes to understanding technical terms on specific websites, or just moving beyond what is presented on a website and understanding the systematic aspect of the resources they're seeking. For example, if you present a client to a school's website where it's presenting easy steps to enrollment and registration, as you can see there, the Alamo Colleges District website, will the client be able to first understand what those terms mean? And second, will they understand the big picture or the process of enrollment into higher education? So the more we start to dig deeper holes, and we leave clients more space to kind of ask questions about what they're reading. And this is exactly what I did with the high school native Spanish speaking student that came in one day, as you'll see on the next slide. And she was, again, she's mostly Spanish speaking. She was a senior in high school that was about to graduate this fall after she completed a few of her summer classes. And she came in just wondering where to go from here. She expressed to me her interest in higher education. Specifically, she wanted to become a counselor in her native language, which I thought was awesome. So I had to start from scratch. I first explained the sequence of what is higher education. I started, as you can see from that little diagram on the left, I started from the high school diploma all the way to the bachelor's degree and so forth. And then we talked about what options she was looking at, especially affordable ones, considering she was working part-time. And then I introduced her to the Alamo Colleges page because she expressed interest in a community college. And here I introduced her to terms like enrollment, terms like semesters, advisors. I had to translate these from English to Spanish. And after a while, she started putting two and two together, and she was finally able to get more comfortable with navigating the college website and asking questions as she went along. And then from there, I knew that the career exploration aspect of why she was coming in, that had to be handled by an advisor that was better suited to explore that with her, and also her financial aid options. So once she felt more comfortable with all these technical terms, I translated them, we talked about them, and she was able to navigate this website. I then made her a referral to Cafe College, San Antonio, where she would find advisors to help her in career exploration. And so she thanked me, she took a final picture of that Alamo College's website and with her phone, and then on a piece of paper, we put the directions to the resource. And so, yeah, that's how that went. And then, so when we talk about the why of what we're doing here, the content barrier is important to break through when it comes to helping clients find a starting place in whatever their journey is. And it gives them a sense of control and understanding what it is that they're reading on a given website and how to navigate the resources. And so, especially for those that are not native to the English language, this content barrier will sometimes make them feel like, these resources are not accessible to them, and there's a constant wall between them and their mission and their goals. And so our mission here as digital ambassadors is to give this community that sense of control back and to help them distinguish, things like what is a credible and non-credible resource, what are you guys reading on these websites, and what does it mean? Because of my assistance with that client, many more doors opened up to her in terms of which higher education route she chose and how she navigates these pages and who she networks with next, thanks to my referral. And so that further helped in breaking through these content barriers and helping her seek her next step.
Okay, so I'm going to be leading us on the psychosocial barriers. So it's kind of, it's not easy to imagine that there's this psychosocial barrier with the internet, right? But an easy way to understand this and to make it relative to our lives is to kind of think about when we go to a restaurant for the first time, right? And the service is terrible, the food is terrible. More than likely, you're never going to go back, right? Well, these people have had that exact same experience, but with the internet, right? And to kind of speak to that, one of the guests that we had came in with this atlas of, locations that he was planning to travel to, right? And he asked us, I want photocopies of all these, right? Only on paper. Well, for the most of us who are digital natives, we're familiar with Google Maps, right? Where we can instantly look up a distance between any 2 points, right? And it's going to be very accurate. Well, I suggested that to this gentleman, right? And he was just like, no way. I want this on paper, right? Which was fine. We provided that service to them, but it just goes to show, it speaks to that psychosocial barrier, right? That this person had an encounter with the internet that they didn't enjoy, so they weren't going to go back to it, right? And the question kind of arises, right? Like, how do we get rid of this psychosocial barrier, right? Well, it's just like any psychology. To replace that bad memory, we have to provide new experiences that are good. And that's exactly what the Westside Community Center is providing, right? With that same gentleman, he came in the next day wanting to look up cooking recipes, right? But he wanted to look up cooking recipes in places where you normally wouldn't find them. He wanted to look for them on Instagram. He wanted to look for them on Twitter and things like that. Well, for most of us, again, we know that the best place to look for any kind of information is Google, right? So my job was to sit down with him and show him, right, this is how we navigate Google, right? And in the beginning, he was very, he was kind of pushing back on it. He was like, there's so much information. How do I know what's good, right? How do I know where to find the information that I'm looking for? Websites that I can trust, right? That was the purpose of the Westside Community Center, right? To help this gentleman understand that we can navigate these websites with safety. We can find the information we're looking for, even though it may be difficult to navigate, right? We definitely can, and we serve that purpose for that gentleman.
Awesome, thank you, David. So I'm going to be talking about the role that we played as digital ambassadors in accordance with the micro businesses and the small businesses. Right. Alrighty, so in the city of San Antonio, small businesses make up about 40% of San Antonio's $124 billion GDP, which calculates out to about $40 billion. And about 90% of businesses in San Antonio are categorized as small businesses. However, only 30 businesses were assisted in 2019, according to the Small Business Office Annual Report by the City of San Antonio Economic Development Department. And there are about over 120,000 small businesses here in San Antonio. So what these statistics represent and demonstrate are how several small and micro businesses can be uneducated or not have access to federal loans administered by the city here. This is why organizations like SBDC or the Small Business Department Center and Micro SA as well, this is why they're important. So the Small Business Development Center organization at UTSA assists companies and foreign investors in performing business tasks here in Texas. They also help create jobs and generate wealth for small businesses. And the senior project manager, Mr. Jaime Martinez, has entrusted us to notify any client that comes through the door here at our office about this organization, and also inform them that this organization has the ability to get them those federal loans, to also get them small business training, to even educate them about cybersecurity training if they want it. We connect them all to Mr. Martinez. And SBDC is also partnered with Micro SA, another organization we've had the pleasure of working with to improve the lives of small business owners. So Micro SA helps to create economic opportunity for underdeserved micro businesses. The co-owner of Micro SA, Ms. Diane Sanchez, has given us digital ambassadors an opportunity to help micro businesses expand. And what our job has been so far is to act as a call center for any client information that Ms. Sanchez has sent us. Those clients have the ability to call us here on our home phone number here in our office. We also utilize Microsoft Office to help organize clientele financial information. We also help the clients fill out PPP loans. It's what my coworker David and some of my other coworkers have been able to do as of late. And we also have done data entry here to increase the distribution of loans to micro businesses. And partnering with MicroSA and SBDC has allowed us to be of service to more clients, which is very good for us here. But I've enjoyed being able to assist and basically do some more work and do work for the small businesses here and also the micro businesses here in San Antonio. So in the next slide that we're going to get into, I'm going to explain the work that I was personally able to do with a client named Miss Elena. So I had the pleasure of working with Miss Elena, the owner of Elena's Cafe. And a little bit of background about Miss Elena. Her husband started the business originally, Elena's Cafe, and he passed away, but she continued on with the business, and she came into our office with a bunch of envelopes of material, and with the help of SBDC, MicroSA, and other community members here in San Antonio, they were able to help her receive the proper financial aid that she needed. And what I was able to do for her personally was create an Excel sheet, as you can kind of see in the picture underneath the bullet points here on the slide. I was able to create a spreadsheet for her with her profit and loss summary, which includes her total income, her purchases, her gross profit, total expenses, and net profit for the year of 2020. And I also posted here a picture of what the PPP loan form looks like. So this is the form that we would fill out after Ms. Sanchez has sent us client information. So now we're about to watch a video that Ms. Elena was kind enough to send to us, which is just a show of her thanks and appreciation to the digital ambassadors here. So let's take a look.
Ok, mi nombre es Marilena Gómez Peña, la dueña de Elena's Café, ubicado en 523 Alzamora. Yo vine aquí con los muchachos, me introdujeron, la señora Diana Sánchez me introdujo con estos excelentes estudiantes que van a hacer una gran profesión de UTSA, los estudiantes que a mí me ayudaron, David y todos los muchachos aquí en el grupo, les agradezco mucho su atención. Muchas gracias de parte de Marilena Gómez y Elena's Café.
Awesome. So at this time, if we could go to the next slide, we as digital ambassadors would just like to say thank you to all of our amazing contributors, our sponsors, and our partners who have made this program possible. We want to say thank you to Mr. Harvey Najim, to Hugh Stevens, to Mr. Jaime Martinez, and SBDC, Ms. Diane Sanchez, with MicroSA, Dr. Reddick, and our very own boss here, Dr. Roger Enriquez. We've all had an amazing encounters with the members of this community, and we hope to continue to have more. And we just thank you so much. So, but at this time, I want to open it up on behalf of everybody. If there are any questions that anybody would like to ask, you can do so at this time.